Hi guys, today I just want to show you how to make a CRUD API using Azure Function. So the benefits why we go serverless with Azure Function is Azure Function is serverless compute service provided by Azure Microsoft Cloud Service. So there are few benefits that you can go with a function. The first one, they are cost effective, and then the other one, you only focus on app logic. So let's get started setting up our Azure function. So first thing, we're gonna create a resource. Then you're gonna choose a function app. You can just create, and then you can choose any resources that you want to use. So I'm going to create a new one, and then I will call it function. It's okay. And then the function name that I'm going to create, we're going to do a category, API. So I'm going to call this function categories function. Then we're going to publish it as a code. So the runtime stack will be .NET, and then version 6. The region, I'll choose the one that is near to me, which is South Africa North. And that's it. And then just review and create. Then you can create your function. You can see our function's been created. So what I've mentioned earlier, so we're gonna do a CRUD operation API using a function. So the database that we're gonna use Cosmos DB. So let's go and create our Cosmos DB. So you can go to create resources, or you can just go there to Azure Cosmos DB, and then you create a DB for our account. So you can see the Cosmos DB. It got different APIs, but for this tutorial, we're gonna go with the core SQL. So again, we're gonna use the resource group that we created earlier, which is our function, and then I'm gonna call this as let's say categories DB. So choose our location that is near to us. That one. On the capacity model, you can choose either provisioned throughout or serverless. So I'm gonna leave it as provisioned, and then other, I'm gonna leave it as it is, and then I can just review. And then we just create our DB. Okay, our Cosmos DB has been created. So the next step, let's create our Azure Function project. So you can go to Visual Studio Code, you can go to this Azure. So if you don't have it, you can add the extension for Azure. Then under function, you can just create a new project, and then you can choose the folder where you want your function to be. Choose a language, which is C#, and then you choose your .NET, which is .NET 6, and then you choose a template, which we're gonna use HTTP trigger, and then you can name the function trigger as you want. So leave it as it is. Click enter. You put your namespace. So this one I'll just say codeka.category. Hit enter, and then access right. I'll use it as anonymous. So let's wait for a project to get created. So our project has been created. So you can see the default HTTP trigger is that. So let's restore our packages. All our packages will be installed. So the restore is done. Then we're gonna need to add few packages so that our project we can able to use Cosmos DB and also use Azure Function Dependency Injection. So let's add few packages. So the first one that we're gonna add is our Cosmos DB. So you can go to terminal and add this package, Microsoft Azure Cosmos DB, and then so we're gonna need a latest version for it. So I'm gonna remove the version, and then we install our package. Then the next one that we're gonna add is Microsoft Azure Function.extension. Which is that. And then the last one, it will be our dependency injection. And then that's all the packages that we need for this project. So let's just go to our project file and see if all packages that we added all of them. So you can see we have Microsoft Azure.cosmos, Azure Function extension and extension dependency injection, and then also Microsoft.NET.SDK.function. And then you can see we're using the latest version of function, which is 4.0.1. So the next step that we're gonna do, I'm gonna create our structure for our project. So I'm gonna add few folders in our project. So the first one I'm gonna say contracts. Then also I need it on the root. The next will be, I will say, repositories, and then the next one I will call it functions. And then the next step is to add our interface. So I'm going to select our contract, add a new file, which I'm going to call it category repository. Then now we're going to start to define our interface. So in our interface, we're going to have 4 functions, which we're going to have like the get customer, get categories, get category by ID, get create category, update category, and delete category. So before we even start with that, let me add the extra another folder. I'm gonna call it models. So put it in the wrong place. Let me remove it there. It must be on the root. I want it on the root. Put it on the root, on the models. So in our model, we can add a new file. I'm going to call it category.model. Yes, it's our C# class. And then just to define our model, so we're going to have a public class and a category, and then we set our properties. So the first property that we're going to have is public int. I'm going to use a GUI. Okay, let's use an int. Public int ID. Use a get and a set. The next one, I'll say public string. It's a type. Let's say a name. Okay, let's a get, then a set, and then we'll have maybe the last property. Let's say public string. Description, and then is a get and a set. And the last one, we can have a boolean public bool. We call it is active, and then it's a get and set. So once we have our model, we can go back to our I forgot to put it, to give it an extension. So let's rename this interface as a C# class. So again, this is a public interface. category category repository, and then we're gonna have a task of a list of this model that we just created. Okay, and then is get categories, which gonna return all our categories. The next one, it won't be a list. I'll just copy this one, paste, but it's not a list, so we're gonna just return one category based on our ID. Because we are using Cosmos DB, so we're gonna pass it as a string. I think let's also change this ID to be a string. Then we are missing a task and also system generate. Then also must add, no, it's fine. The next one that we're gonna use, let's say a task. So this task, I'm gonna create category. So we're gonna pass our category. Copy. Let's need this category. That's it is. Then it's a category. And then the next one, we are going to do an update. Update category. We pass our category, and then let's pass our ID and also a unique key. In this case, our unique key is name. And then the last task that we're gonna do is a delete category. So we're done with our interface. So the next part that we're gonna do is to create our repository. So in our repository, let's generate our class, which is category.repository. That's so we generate a TS file. So let me just rename it as C#. So do some refactor, so it's going to be public that. So this class is gonna inherit our interface. Then we can generate all our explicit interface. So I choose the wrong one. Let's choose implement that. Okay, which is fine. I'll just refactor it so you can see all our interfaces. So what I can do is remove that, remove that one. So this one is fine. Also that one, and also that one. So we have all our members of this interface. The next thing that we're going to do, we're going to create our constructor, and then the next thing that we're going to do, let's make our to be public. It must be all public, so we can get rid of this error. All our method must be public method. So that's it. So now what we're gonna do on this method, the first we're gonna declare our Cosmos client. So let's see, Cosmos client. Let's see, is there, and then we can just add our where we can find it, because it's from our Cosmos, but we can find it for now. Okay, when we leave it, we'll fix it later. So the next thing, we're gonna have our database. Again, we call it database, and then we can have a container. Container, and then we're gonna also have our database ID. Let's initialize it to an empty string, and also we're gonna have our container ID, that is the string, and we'll say copy this one as an ID, also a string of empty. Then in our constructor, we're just gonna need a connection string, which we're gonna read it from our host.json file. So we're gonna use the I configuration. We're gonna inject our I configuration. We'll just call it I config. So the thing that we're gonna do here to fix this problem that we are facing, we can use Microsoft Azure Cosmos DB and Microsoft extension. Then the other thing that we need is our config. So I'm going to declare it here as a private. Then let's see, is that. So inside our constructor, because we injected our I configuration, what we're gonna do, we're gonna use our I config and assign it to that. Then we can declare our connection string. So connection string equals to I config, and then in I config we can get our value for connection string. We're gonna set it up later. I'll just call it Cosmos DB connection string, and then after that we can assign our database ID. For this one we can say it's called category DB, and then also our container ID, I will call it category container. Then after that we can insert our client and pass the connection string. So our Cosmos client is equals to new Cosmos client. So the first parameter that we're gonna pass is our connection string, and then also we pass our Cosmos client options. Then this instances, we have our options. The first option that we have is connection mode is equals to connection mode dot gateway. Then once we're done with that, that is the only option that we have. So the next thing that we're gonna create few two function. First one is create a database, and another one is create an async. So let's get started. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna have a private async task create a database async. So this one, we can have our container and our database. So database is equals to await our create client Cosmos client dot create database if not exist, and then we pass our database ID. Then okay, so the next part, we're gonna create our async task create container async. So in this method, we'll assign our container close it. Okay. Our container is going to be await is database dot create container if not exist. We're going to pass our container ID and our unique, which is our name, and then that's it. So if you go back to our we can just pass our method that we just created. We created a database async. So I'm gonna just say wait because it's an async method, and also create container again as in wait. So we're done with our construction. So the next thing that we're gonna do is how we're gonna create our category. So to create our category, this is the first thing that we're gonna do. We're gonna use so this method again is an async then we can remove this. So let's do our try catch, so we can able to catch our exception if something went wrong, and then we're gonna use Cosmos exception. So Cosmos exception, throw that when exception the status code equals to HTTP status code dot not found. So let's add our that. So that's it. So the first thing that we're gonna do in our try, we're gonna use the item response of our category. So we're going to use this item response equals to await container dot read item async of our category, and then we can pass our category .id, and then our new partition key, which is category dot name. So that's how you create a new entry into Cosmos DB. So what's going to happen when it's not found? We're gonna able to create our entry, which is await container dot create item async. So now we're gonna pass our category and our new partition key, which is category dot name. So if you can go back to our code, the first thing that we do, we first read and check if the ID already exists. If it doesn't exist, then you're gonna throw an exception, and then instead of catching the exception, we'll check if the status code is not found, and then after that we create our category. So the next thing that we're gonna do, let's do our get category. Again, it's an async do the same. So try catch. Again, we're catching Cosmos exception, and then that's it. So the first thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna create our query. So let's say query equals to string dot format, and then in our format we're going to do a select, and then we select all from I will say C, where C dot ID equals to our string, which is going to pass it here, and then we pass our ID. That's our query. So it's a simple SQL. You can see we are selecting everything where ID equals to the ID that we are passing. So then we're gonna do our query definition, which is query the definition. So it's gonna be equals to new query the definition, and then we pass the query that we just created above. Then we do our feed iterator. So which need our category, and then I can call this as our query iterator. So it's going to be equals to container dot get item query iterator. So pass our object in this category, and then we pass our query definition. Then after that, we can define our model so that we can able to assign our value from Cosmos DB to our model. So I'll just call our category, then I will say results equals to new category. Then now we can loop through our query, which is query iterator dot has more results, and then from there we're going to have a feed response of our category, and then I will say results set equals to await, and then we're gonna pass our query. We go to our query iterator dot read next async, and then therefore we can do for each category. Let's see, category. Let's see, category rice. So we can have unique names into results. Then we can able to assign our results. Result. Where is our result? Dot ID equals to category ranks dot ID. Then again, I will say then just copy everything, and we can just change the property names. It's a results dot name dot name. Next one, description. Description. We have the last one is active. So we set all our stuff. Okay. Let's save for now. Then once we are done, we can just return our results. So why is not getting back our error? It's supposed to go off. Okay. Is this catch? I'll just say throw new business section, and then we'll say error. Okay. Let's see. Let's do this. Obviously, string dot format. Do that. Now, see there's an error. That. Message, and yeah, that's looked much better. So the next one, let's do the get. We're gonna do our get. Our get all categories. Where is our method for get all? There is our method. So again, it's an async. So we're gonna do almost the same thing here. So I'm gonna just copy this one, paste it there. but we are not passing anything, so we're just selecting all from that. So let me just also remove the format. So that's our query. Again, we're gonna do a definition. So it's almost as copy and paste. So I'm gonna copy all that. And then just paste it there. Then the next thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna also copy that. We're gonna just modify this thing in our thing. So I'm gonna paste it there. So instead of returning an object, you're gonna return a list of categories. Just like that. So just run the code nicely, and then again, instead of assigning all the values, we can just assign our result equals to results dot add. We add our object into our list, and then after that we just return all our list. So you can see it's very straightforward. We have already done it. So the next task I'm going to do is our delete. So in our delete, we must first get our partition key value so that we can able to remove it from our DB. So first thing I'm going to create partition key value. So it's going to be equals to category dot name. You remember, I said we must have a unique thing, and then in this case I use a name. So this name is our partition key value. Then again we're gonna have our ID, which is also equals to category dot ID. So this ID is the one you're gonna use it to identify which value to remove. So we're gonna use our container, and then we're gonna delete item. I think category. So then we pass our object into this category. Then we can have our ID and also new partition key, which is our partition value. See why it's wrong here. see this doesn't exist. Okay. So the delete was also straightforward, so we are left with our update. So let's see what is our update. So on our update, for the update, first thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna read an item that we need to update. So we're gonna use the item response of a category. Then I'm gonna put response equals to await. Before we use await, we must have a sync. Okay. Then this container dot read item is sync. We are reading our category object. Then we're gonna need to pass our ID and then also our new partition, which is a name. So once we have our response, we can declare our result, which is equals to new response dot resource. Then after that, we can assign our result that ID equals to our category dot ID. So you can see it's straightforward. Not much to explain here. Okay. Results dot last property is there. It's active. So once we're done there, just gonna replace the items. What we're gonna do here, we'll say await is that container dot replace item is sync of category. Then we pass our result. Then we pass our ID. Then we pass our partition key, which is category dot name. So let's see why. Is complaining. The first parameter So we're gonna, oh, I'm using a wrong method. It's a replace. I use replace item. So here we have result, and then yeah, that's it. So we are done with our repo. You can see everything look fine and perfect. Then the next step that we're going to do now is to create our function. So we're gonna have 4 functions for this API. So the first function that we're gonna create is we're gonna do a create category. You can see that. So what I'm gonna do, I don't think I can do it from here. Then I can go down, and then you can see we have a create function button there. So our function that we're going to create is a HTTP trigger. So I'm going to call this one create category. Then the same thing. Let's say codeka dot, what do you call it? Category. So again, it says the same story. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut this function and paste it there, and then I'm gonna change our space, and then so that we know it's coming from this. So this is our function. It's called create. If that's a function name, you can change it maybe to something like maybe add category. Then you can see it's a get post, but we're not doing a get, we are doing a post. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove the get because we're creating a category, and then our root is not null, is called create category. So it's an HTTP request, and then this HTTP request, we don't have an iLogger, we're just needing a body. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna create a constructor for our class, and this class is no longer static. So first thing, what I'm gonna do, let's create a constructor for our class, and then from the constructor we'll say it's a public create that, and then we must have read only logger, so that we are logging our logs. So logger, and then we're also doing dependency injection to our repository, which is just copy it here so we don't have mistakes. That I'm just gonna call it there, say category like that. Then I will inject it here as there category, and also inject our logger, and then like that, and then you can just assign our logger to the one you just injected, so that you can able to use them. Okay. That's so simple and straightforward. So once you have your thing, so this method is not async. I mean, sorry, it's not a static method. Then I don't have all this code. I can take it off. Maybe we're gonna create our own. So what you gotta do, I'm gonna do a try, and then it's a try count, and then exception EX, and then yeah, once we have that, let's start implementing our first API method, which is create category. So the first thing that we're gonna do, I'm gonna do a using var, I'll say read equals to new stream reader. So we're gonna create our body, and then the encoding is UTF. It's IntelliSense. Our encoding. So this encoding is from system.text dot u t 8. Then Then what is I'm gonna say incoming request equals to await read dot read to end async. Let me get that. Once we have that, I'm gonna just check if our string is not empty. So dot string that is null or empty in current request. So if it's not empty for now, we're gonna first deserialize our objects. Our string to an object. So I'm gonna say category request equals to JSON convert dot deserialize object. That is our category, and then our incoming request. There it is. So let's see why it's crying. Okay, it's crying because I'm using data sets. I'm going to say model and model dot category. Yes, and then we're still crying. Will be foul. That is impossible to use. Where is our model? Model. Okay, I didn't put it. I didn't give it a namespace. That's why it's complaining. So let me do that. So let's copy this. So now it's gonna make lots of stuff, but we're gonna fix it. So which we're gonna do, I'm just gonna call it model. So I'm gonna save it. Okay. Let's align our code. So now I know it's going to be a lot of use all these namespaces so that we can fix our problem. Let's check. Now we have fixed our namespace there. Okay. With the next step, what we're gonna do, let's create a new category. Let's choose and then new category. Then we're gonna just assign our thing. So we have our ID. So this category is CRUD. Okay, let's model dot. So we have an ID which is equals to let's use a view ID dot new GUI, and then we're gonna put it to the string, and then that's it. So the next, the description is gonna be equals to our category. So let me say this category dot model. So we want to have some conflicts. Is in fact category the one we just created earlier. The category request dot description is active. Again, it's going to be category here that is active. And the last one is name equals to category dot name. So once we've done that, we're gonna await, and then we're gonna call our repository, and then we create our category, and then we pass our category model, and then that's it. So we have our results. Let me go and define our result there before our try. This I action result. Those the results. So this result we just assign it to our status, HTTP status. So I'll just say equals to new status code result. Status code result, and then we can pass our status code which is let's first pass fix these errors so that we can have our interfaces to work. So this one status code, okay, it's codes, yes, status code. So we'll see status code created, so that one, so it's gonna return our then. So in our catch, I will say that it will return our status code as a bed request. So I'll just say results equals to new status goes there, but let's return a bad request. Then that's it. In fact, this one on our cache, I think we must return 500. I think it makes more sense. Return 500, and then we can also log our error. Log error, so we can put our error code there. Let's say internal server error, and then maybe put an exception, and then we pass our that message, which make more sense. So then what we can do here, this is our if, and maybe we can just say else if our string is empty, we can just return a bad request. Then we can say bad request, and then once we're done, we can able to return our results. So that's how you do it. So the next part, we're gonna do another function, which is a get all categories. Okay, so I'm gonna create another function, which is an HTTP trigger. So I'm gonna call it get category. Get category. So, and then our namespace is a function, and then is called category function. So once we create, I will also put it in this folder so that we can arrange our classes. Yeah, so the same thing that we're gonna do. So I'm gonna go to our create category, just copy and paste our constructor because it's the same thing. So I'm gonna just copy this, and then we go to our get category, and then first let's remove our static, and then paste our constructor. Let's just change this one to get category. Then the next step, we know this one is not a static, and then also is not a post. and our root is get a category by ID. So I'm going to say get category by ID, and then we are expecting an ID. So it's an HTTP request, and then again we are not passing a logger because we inject it there. So maybe from here I'll just pass this iLogger. So log this information, and then we can say C# trigger function process for get category. So then delete all of these. We can delete everything from down. So another thing, we also need our ID. So I'll just pass it there, and then so let's start implementing our things. So I'll do a try. We do catch, we catch the exception EX, and that's it. So in our try, before that, let me do this before I forgot it. So we need an action results, which is our results, and then we can start. So I'm going to save category equals to await that dot get category, and then we pass our ID. So once we have our customer, let's check if our object is now. So I'm going to check if it's now. Then what we can do, we can set our result equals to new status results, and then we pass our status code dot not found, so which is 404. So it's not 04. Maybe we can also log this as information, and then we can just say category with ID. So this is string ID there. Okay, let's say ID not or does not exist, and then that's it. So once we do that, we can just say results equals to new object, and then return our category. And then in our catch, we can just log, and then we log error, and then I will just say internal server error, and then exception throw with that exception. Exception.message, and then our result equals to new status. Status result, which is status code dot 500. Internal server error, and then that's it. And then we're just gonna return our results. It's just so simple and straightforward. Let's go and add another one, which is the HTTP trigger. We're gonna say get categories, namespace, say codeka dot category function. So here we're done. Let me just double check. Okay, everything look fine. So let's go back, and then we get our this function. I will put it to our function folder. Inside our function folder, so we have get categories. So inside our function, let's modify it so it's almost the same. So we go again, and copy that, and then just paste there, and then change constructor to be there, and then this is not a static, and also this one is not a static, and then method is that, and then output is get categories, and then it's HTTP request. Then we don't need a logger, and then I'll just see, and maybe high level of information. Say forget all categories, and that's it. So let's remove all this code. You can edit it. And take it off. And then we can do almost the same thing. So I'm gonna just go and copy because it's the same. Let's copy this one, and then what did I copy? Did I copy everything? Go back and that. So I'm just going to put it here. So let's modify our code. So I would say this is categories. We are getting categories, and then again I'm gonna check if our categories is now. I didn't put my results. Let me put my results here. Results, this result. So once it's done, we can just say log category is not found, and then we just return our categories, and then that's it. The next one is gonna be our delete. Again, some story. Delete category, and then function is called category. Once it's done, we can just go and move it to our function. Then we can just go and change it. So our HTTP verb is not a get, it's not a post, it's a delete. So we're gonna change this one to delete. Our root, and call it delete category, and then we're gonna pass HTTP request. So remove this, and then we also need a string ID. So the other thing here, we also passing an ID. Then we can go and copy our constructor, which is paste our constructor. It's not static. This is our constructor. Let's take this one, and then we gonna do almost the same thing. Let me go there and copy this. We go to our delete. We don't really need all of this, so paste it there. So what I'm gonna do, we have our logger, and then this is not a static. And then I'll say for delete category, and then instead of a get, we are deleting. So delete our category. So we have ID. So our delete, it needs what do you call the whole model. So our model, I can go back to create and copy this code, because it's the one that we really need to do our delete. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come and copy all of that. So go kill we're gonna read our request. So I don't really need this one. Okay. So then do that, and then we're gonna take this code to put it inside our if statement, and then our category request. Let's see what is going on now. Okay. And then so we do that. So and then there. So here, let's add our results. So that's how you delete it. So you just serialize, and then we pass our ID into our object, and then once it's done, we just do that, and then once we delete it, so let's assign our result. Our results will be equals to status code results, status code dot choose no content. So just enter 204. So new status quo. And then again, just do else, and then 14% beta request. So beta request, and on catch, just log our exception and return our status code. So that's how you do a delete. So I'm gonna go and add a new one, the last one, which is our update. So update category. Okay, it's called a category. That's our function. Let me move it to our function folder. Okay, what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna grab our constructor, update, so the static, and then put it down, change the name for constructor, and then we have that. So this gonna change our verb. So our verb is a put. That's what we can update. So take it to put, and then again I'm gonna just change our root to update category, and then which we need an ID. So once we've done it, let's remove this guy. Don't need this one. So let's say I logo permission request for update category. It's not a mistake. Okay, so let's take off all this. We're gonna do a try catch exception. What is doing? Try catch exception. Yes. Okay. So on this one, first I'm gonna put our ID. We need an ID as a string there. So the first thing we're gonna get our category, which is equals to new category. No, our category is there. Dot get category. Pass our ID. So once we get our ID, we can able to check if category equals to now. Then we know our category doesn't exist. So if it doesn't exist, let me go to this. Let's copy this code. It doesn't exist.
She's crying. Mommy, be
So done there. Let me put our then else we can start doing our code. So what we're gonna do, I'll just copy this code from our previous our creator. Okay, so we're gonna do that. That's it. So let's add this class. Then now if I can go back to create method, we must deserialize that. Then let's request, and then there. So once we deserialize, we can go back again to create category. Then we just assign our object. So this is what would happen. Put this code there. Let's arrange my code so we can make nice. And then instead of create, we're gonna do an update. So our update, it need first need category, it need our ID. I will say our ID is ID, and then a name. We're gonna use our name as category model name. So instead here of regenerating the ID, we can just pass that ID. So we have created our object, we updated it, so I can put another else here, and then you can just go again to create and then copy the same as that, and then we return our thing. So we just return what method is this one? Okay. Inside here, return result, return, right? So yeah, you can see we are done with all our function. So when I was doing this update, I just realized that I made a mistake on our delete. So let me modify our delete. So what we can do, we must just use our get category, and then after that we can able to delete our record. So let me go to our delete. If you can see in this delete method, we don't really need all of this, so we change it so it must be like that, and then we don't need this one. So we just need to go and add our ID there, which is there, and then when you get your ID, so there you just press your category. Why is it complaining? Too many statement, so this one I don't need it. I can delete that one. Let's see why doesn't want this. Cannot convert from system. Okay, this is wait. Oh, yes, that's it. So this also fits this one. This one also is an wait. So we have done all our function. So our API is almost complete. So what you need to do next is just to create our startup class and then do our dependency injection so that you can able to run our function without any errors, and then also to read our connection string for Cosmos DB. So yeah, we're gonna do it next. So as I said, we're gonna add our startup class. So I'm gonna create a new class called startup.cs. So in this startup class, we're gonna use few extensions. So what I'm doing is gonna bring it there, and then after that, we're gonna put our namespace. Let me just come and copy it from here. It is our namespace. That's our namespace. Then we enter this startup as an assembly and then use functions startup, and then we're gonna call our class name, which is called startup. I think it's a type of this. Then let's go and create our class. So it's a public class startup, which inherit function startup. And then we're done with our class because it inherited that. You can see it's complaining that we must implement the inherited class. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna have a public override, which is a void, and configure. So in this class, we're gonna have I function host builder as our parameter, and then once we have that, we can able to declare our config goes to new configure builder. So in this one, we're gonna set a base path where we're gonna read our local setting.json or our host JSON file. So to do that, we must first set our base path, and then we're gonna use our directory, which is from system.io dot get current directory, and then the next part we're gonna add a JSON file. So our JSON file is this local setting. I'm gonna just rename it and copy it. There is our JSON file, and then let's put some optional values, which is true, and also reload or change must be true. Then the next one, we can also add environment variables, and then after that we can just do a build. Then we're done. So once we are done, the next step is to add our dependency injection lifecycle. So to do that, you can just say builder. Okay, it's a build dot say this is dot add singleton. So I'm sure you understand the dependency injection, so you can add a scope, transact, or singleton. So in this case, on our example, I'm gonna just add it as a singleton, and then the first one, I'm gonna add our configuration, which is the config that we just created, and then the next one is our repository. Again, this one I'll do as a transact, and then so we have our first our interface. So we add our interface, then also our class. Then once we're done with that, that's all. So we created our dependency injection. You can see everything look fine. So let me add the using of that, and then everything now look great. So I'm going to give one brackets there, so you can see everything look fine. So the next step, we're gonna just need to test our API and see if everything is working fine and correctly. So what you're gonna do, we're gonna run this API and then test it on using your favorite REST client. So in this case, I'm gonna use Insomnia. This one of my favorite. So let's get started. Okay, so let's do our testing. So when you do our testing, you can just run the application, start debugger. So I've already started it, and then so the first test what we're gonna do is to do our get categories. So I'm gonna copy this link, and then from there I will open my REST client tester. So you can use anyone that you prefer to use. So I prefer this one. Okay, so I'm gonna add new. So I'm gonna call it local get categories. Then create, put our endpoint, and then it's a get. There's no boarding. So let's test. I'm just gonna hit send. So it returned empty. So let's go and confirm in our database. So I'll go to the database that we created earlier. I'll go to this resources, and then under our resource, here is our database, and then from there we go to Data Explorer. So you can see our category database has been created, and then also our category content has been created. So if we go back to the code, and then we go to our repository, so we define those values here. You can see the database ID is category DB and container ID is category container. And then when we call this method, it's going to create our DB, and then this one is going to create our container. So you can check the code that we created earlier, which is create DB. So just assign our database to this value. So what happens is the Cosmos client is going to create the database if not exist, and then also the container is going to be created if the container doesn't exist. So the next test that we're going to do, we're going to add some values into our database to see if everything is working fine. So we're going to create a new request, call it local add category. So it's a post, and then it's a JSON. I'm going to create it. So in our body, let's create our JSON body. So what we have an ID. So in this ID, I can just put some garbage because we won't even use it. And then we have a name. So I'll say this name as let's say Azure local test, and then we have this description, and then we'll just say testing locally, and then also have this native. So I'll name this one, so it's a boolean, so let's say it's true. So the other thing, what I normally do, I'm gonna go to my model just to verify if everything is correct. So like the description, maybe I spell it wrong, so let me just copy it and paste it there. So once it's done, I can hit send. Oh, I didn't put the endpoint. Okay, so let's go back. Let me copy our endpoint, and then let's send and see. So it's created. Let's go back on our get categories and see if we're gonna get it. Voila, there it is. So I'm gonna create another one. So I'll call this one test2, and then let's say testing local record 2, and then let's execute. Is there? Let's check if our record is there. You can see our record is there. So let me add the third one. Let's say 5, and then I'll say 5. Let me change this one to false, and then execute. It's done. Let's check our record. Our record is there. So the next test that we're gonna do, okay, before we do that, let's go to our portal. Let's check our data if it's there. So you can see we have 3 items that we just created. They have been saved in Cosmos DB. So let's do another test. The next test that we're gonna do, I'm gonna do a delete. Okay, so I'm gonna add a new request. I'll say delete local. It's a delete, and then let's create some input or endpoint there. Let me go there and grab one ID. So I'm gonna delete this first record. Go back there. Let's do our ID there. Then let's see if also the delete is working. So it's there. It's fine. Let's check. You can see it's been deleted, even if you can verify on our Cosmos DB on our portal. So I will just refresh there. You can see now we have 2 records. So the next test that we're gonna test is to do a get, which you get a single record. I'm gonna copy that one. Then I will call the request is get record local. It's a get. Then put endpoint there. Let me grab this ID first, and then go back there, place it there, and then execute. You can see it returned that record. So even if we can check this one, it will work also and return this record for us. So click send. There it is. So the next test is an update. So our update, you can see is a put. So I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna create a new request. I'll say update local. It's a put. It's a JSON. Then we create, paste our endpoint. So let me go back. So I'm gonna update this record. Update that record there. So this is our body. Put update. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna change the description. So say update record true, and also is false. Then let's see if our update is working. Okay, it's working. So let's go back and see if it's really been updated. So you can see it's false, and the record, the description has been updated. So you can see our API, all CRUD operations are working. We can save data into Cosmos DB, we can delete, can update, and get them. So the next step now, we're gonna have to publish our application to Azure Function and then able to run it from there. So I'm gonna stop debug. So once we stop our debug, you can just go back here. We go to our function. So if you expand your subscription, you will get a function, and then just right click and then click deploy to function app. So you're gonna get this confirmation, just warning you that if you have any previous deployment, it's gonna be overrated, and then you won't able to undo it. So I'm gonna do a deploy. So if I go to the output and see what's going on, so let's see, I'm getting some errors. But let's wait and see. Let's see. Our zip package is around 7.67 megabit. And then the deploy, is in the process. So let's just wait and see until it get completed. So our deployment is successfully. And now it's syncing the triggers. So the deployment is completed, and here is our endpoint. So let's go and verify and see if it's been really deployed. So you can see under functions, we have all our function that we have created, so it's been deployed successfully. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna run those tests. So the first test that we're gonna do is to get our record that we have created earlier, but now we are not running locally. You can see the application is not running. So I'm gonna create a new request. I can see CRUD get categories is a get, and then put our endpoint. You can see the endpoint is from Azure. There is the full URL. Then if I hit send, we're supposed to get those two records that we already saved there. So the next one I will do a create. So again, there's a new request, and I'll say add category prod, and then we know it's a post, and then JSON, we do a create. So I'm gonna go and grab the JSON and then create another record. So I'm gonna say this Azure prod test. Let's just say testing production record, and then let me change this one maybe to true, and then let's test. I didn't copy the URL again, my bad. So copy that URL, put it there. You can see it's from Azure. Then let's hit. So it's been created. If we go back to get our categories, let's see if our record is there. You can see our record is this production. So the next test that we're going to do is to get a single record. I'm going to copy that and then do a new request. So get category prod. So get, that's fine. Put our URL there. So I'm going to remove this ID. Go back here. Put it here so we can have the latest record. So I'll put it there. Let's see. Oh, the ID is wrong there. That's why it didn't return the value. So you can see it's working. So the next one, we're gonna test our delete. So I'm gonna copy that endpoint. I'm gonna say request. We'll say delete prod. So our verb there is a delete. So we create it. I'm gonna paste it there. So if I get there, let me copy this ID. And if you go to delete, we can just remove that and put our ID there. The ID is correct. So it's been deleted. So if we go to get, we're supposed to see two records. You can see it's working. So the last test is gonna be our update. So I'm gonna create a new request there. So update prod. Then the verb is a put JSON, and then let's create it. Let's put our endpoint there. So let's go there. So what I'm gonna update, let me update this one. Let me copy the whole body. I'm going to update, paste it there. So we're gonna change that to false, and then I'll say testing production record this way can successfully. So let me get my ID and then put it there. Let's paste it there. And then let's see. Okay, it's done. It's updated. I can go to check, and then we execute. No, I ran the wrong one. get on, so you can see the record that we updated. So if we go even to the portal, we go back to our database just to verify everything is working as it is. So go to our container item, you see we have 2 records. So yeah, that's how you create a Azure function, and also using a Cosmos DB as your database. So I hope you learned something, and then can use whatever that you learn in your own and create something wonderful and be productive. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like if this video really helped you, so that I can create more video for you. Thank you.